So we've just laid down Old Testament precedents that God will have pagan nations, unbelievers, who make fun of him and taunt him. He'll pass them through fire and sulfur to burn away their unbelief and ultimately restore them. Non-believing, that's the model we're going to see in the book of Revelation with the nations. Let's dig in and have a look at the origin, history, and the ultimate destiny of the nations. Will the sulfur and the fire in the lake of fire burn away the deception, leading to healing and restoration regarding the name of God? You better strap in, folks. This thrilled my heart 12 years ago when I first came across this, the nations. In the book of Revelation, I was shocked. Turned my whole life upside down. I've never been happier. Yeah? Here it is. Let's have a look at the origin, history, and destiny of the nations in the book of Revelation. The nations are always the baddies. They're the lost, the rebellious. Okay? The nations are always the baddies, the lost, and rebellious. And then in chapter 22, they come out of the lake of fire and get healed right in front of Jesus. Yes, the rebellious. So let's have a look at every reference to the nations in the book of Revelation. You'll see they're always the baddies. Sulfur and fire burns away, eliminates, destroys the deception about the name of God upon which his rule is based, and they get restored. And that's why it never says that they stay there forever, because they're deceived. All God's got to do is take away the blinkers. Yeah? All right, let's have a look at the history. How are the nations related and connected to Jesus? Axiomatic. This one is the slam dunker, right? How does Jesus relate to the nations? He came the first time to do one thing for the nations. Revelation 12:5, English Standard Version. She gave birth to a male child, Jesus, who is to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Why was Jesus born? To rule all the nations. Why did he come? To rule all the nations. What's the warfare in the book of Revelation? God's right to rule based on his character, his name. And Jesus came here to establish that rule. He came the first time to rule the nations. He will return the second time to finish the job. Revelation 19:15, English Standard Version. From his mouth, it's a war of words, comes a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations, and he will rule them. Oh, the first and second coming of Jesus had a specific task in mind. One goal, to rule the nations, the rule that had been questioned by the devil by putting blasphemy on the name of God. Jesus comes to establish the rulership of God on the nations. This first coming and the second coming. And all the way in between, we have a battle over the name of God as the foundation for his rulership. And now the devil wants to rule. The devil wants to be worshipped. So he's got to blaspheme the name of God. Number one, Jesus came the first time and will come the second time to establish the rule that Satan had challenged. And everything in between is about the rulership of Jesus, who represents the Father, or the devil. Look, chapter 13 and verse 4, New American Standard Bible says this. And they worship the dragon because he gave authority to the beast, and they worship the beast. Worshipping the dragon, they worship the beast. Hang on, we're supposed to worship God. Hello? See? And they said, who is like the beast? Who represents the devil? And who is able to wage war with him? Oh, it's a worship war. I ain't making this up, folks. They've been deceived about the name of God. We saw that last time. Yeah? So they worship the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet because they've been deceived. Deceived. They haven't made a fully informed decision. So how does God respond to worshipping the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet as a result of God's name being dirtied, sullied, slandered, blasphemed, misrepresented? What does God do in response to this false worship based on slandering the name of God? Revelation 14, 6 and 7. And I saw another angel in the New American Standard Bible. And I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven with an everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth and to every nation, tribe, language, and people. And he said with a loud voice, fear God and give him glory. You're worshipping the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven, the earth, the sea, and the springs of waters. Here they are worshipping the creature, the dragon, and the beast. The dragon and the beast, animals. Don't worship the creation. Don't worship the creature. Worship the creator. It's a worship war. The gospel is described here in the book of Revelation in an end-time setting over the name of God, which is the foundation of his rulership and us worshipping him. You see all this coming together? Yeah? Jesus came to establish the rule of God for the nations. First coming, second coming. How do the nations respond to this? 11:2. Get ready. We're going to go right through every reference to the nations in the book of Revelation. Revelation 11:2. They're the baddies. They rebel it. They reject it. They've been deceived. Okay? Revelation 11:2, English Standard Version. But do not measure the court outside the temple, John. Leave that out. For the outer court, it is given over to the nations, and they will trample the holy city. The holy city where the people of God live. The nations are tramplers of the holy city. And if you go to chapter 20, you read there that the nations surround the holy city to trample it. The nations are tramplers of the people of God. Baddies. But Jesus is their king. And he won't let them go. The nations are filled with rage against the people of God just before the wrath of God arrives. Revelation 11:18. Number one, they're tramplers of the people of God. Number two, they're enraged with the people of God. Revelation 11:18, English Standard Version. And the nations raged, but your wrath came, the seven last plagues. So before the seven last plagues, the nations will be enraged against God and his people because they've been deceived, and they will trample, persecute. The nations are those who hear the everlasting gospel, reject it, and instead unite with Babylon. They're the baddies, they're the lost, they're the rebellious. They've been deceived. Revelation 14, 6 and 8, English Standard Version. Then I saw another angel flying directly overhead with the everlasting gospel to proclaim to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation. Every nation is hearing the gospel. How do they respond? Verse 8, another angel, a second one follower, saying, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, she who made all nations who heard the gospel drink the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality. The nations are tramplers of the people of God, enraged at the people of God, hear the gospel, reject it, and instead get in bed with Babylon. As a result, they get the mark of the beast and get smashed with the seven last plagues from the devil. Revelation 16:2. So the first angel went and poured out his bowl on the earth, and harmful and painful sores came upon the people who bore the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. The rebellious. The rebellious. And in 16:8 and 9, we've read this many times, I'm not going to go there now, and they blasphemed the name of God for the pain. They lied. They made a false accusation, sullied and misrepresented his character. And that's the devil's plan. I'll smash you and you'll blame God for it. Character assassination 101. After the seven last plagues, the rebellious nations who reject the gospel because they're deceived, they didn't make a fully informed decision, they will turn against Jesus when he returns. Revelation 19:15, English Standard Version. From his mouth, Jesus' mouth, comes a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. Truth. But here they are, trying to take Jesus on. Not a real good history and character reference for the nations here. They are always the rebellious baddies because they've been deceived. Okay, they're never the saved, and you'll see what I'm going to say very shortly. So they end up after this facing the judgment. Their names are not found written in the book of life. They end up in the lake of fire. They're soaking in the sulfur and the fire. And I've already indicated, I'm going to demonstrate it here, that it's going to burn away their deception. And they're going to leave the lake of fire and go right up to Jesus. Watch! The story's not over. They end up in the lake of fire. The lake of fire coexists at the same time as the new heaven and new earth. All right? The lake of fire coexists at the same time as the new heaven and new earth. Revelation 21, 1-3. Notice, the new heaven and the new earth starts with the new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven onto earth. God is with his people. The people are inside the new Jerusalem after the new heaven and the new earth. But outside is the lake of fire. Oh, they both coexist. Revelation 21, 1-3. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride. That's the people of God, adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them. They're together inside the holy city now, the new Jerusalem. They're inside. Please note this, in the new heaven and the new earth era. He will dwell with them. They will be his people. God himself will be with them as their God. But, Revelation 21:8. Where are the lost? 21:8. English Standard Version. But as for the cowardly, see that? They're there with God in the new Jerusalem. But as for the cowardly and the faithless and the detestable and the murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, their portion will be, the other portion, the first portion is with God inside the new Jerusalem, but the lost portion, those who were deceived, will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. See the contrast? At the time of the eternal blessed state, the new heaven and new earth, we've got two groups of people in two geographical locations, for want of a better term, at that point in history. They both coexist. You've got the saved inside the new Jerusalem with God, but the other ones, their portion is in the lake of fire. Please note the vice list. This is the vice list of those who are in the lake of fire. It's going to come up again in a shocking context. But as for the cowardly, faithless, detestable, the murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and liars, they're in the lake of fire. That's the vice list. Whenever we read this vice list during the new heaven and new earth, that's the lake of fire. The lost are in the lake of fire at the same time that the saved are in the new Jerusalem. Where exactly is the lake of fire at this time in this celestial geography? Where exactly is it? Next time.